de-escalation is key. What kind of information are you keeping track of most closely to follow the situation?
Yeah, I've been mostly tracking a mix of economic reports like central bank actions and commodity prices, and also looking at political analyst takes, especially on US-China relations. I'm trying to see both the short-term signals and any long-term patterns that might suggest a bigger shift, so I'm just trying to piece it all together.
That sounds like a good approach, keeping track of both the economic and the political analysis. Watching for those short-term developments and the longer-term patterns is really key to understanding how these kinds of major power shifts might play out. There's a lot to consider. Is there a particular analyst or resource you found most helpful?
Yeah, I've been really relying on some of the work from the Council on Foreign Relations, and also a few independent economists who break down the trade flows. I like how they balance data with more context about global politics, so that's been pretty helpful.
Those sound like reliable sources. Getting a perspective that balances data with context about global politics is really key for understanding how things are interconnected. It's a great way to get a more complete picture. Is there a particular finding from those resources you're still thinking about?
Yeah, actually, one thing that's stuck with me is this idea that China's investment in global infrastructure, like the Belt and Road, is actually being seen as a parallel to their financial moves. Like they're building a kind of alternative economic system. And that could really be a game changer if it starts to rival traditional Western financial institutions. So that's something I'm really keeping in mind.
Well, what if they decouple from the dollar, which they probably are, or it's going to happen, but everyone starts moving into, let's say, cryptocurrency? Do you think that'll help? I mean, economically.
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, if a significant part of the world shifts toward crypto, it could decentralize finance a lot, but it also introduces a ton of volatility. So it might provide some diversification, but I think it would come with risks, especially if global regulators start cracking down or if crypto markets get manipulated. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
It definitely is a big question. Shifting to cryptocurrency could decentralize finance, potentially creating an alternative economic system that's less dependent on the dollar. But like you said, it introduces a lot of volatility and regulatory risks. Whether that would ultimately help economically would depend on which countries adopt it, how stable the currencies are, and how the global financial system reacts. It's a complicated development to foresee.
Well,
are you thinking about specific cryptocurrencies or just the concept in general?
Well, I was going to say, it seems like a lot of other countries, I think Mexico just went all in crypto. I think, I forgot what area or whatever, but I know Sweden, or maybe it was Switzerland, they are using it for like a digital ID. I mean, it seems like the world is using crypto in different parts, like HBAR, XRP, Ondo. Everyone's using like different ones, but they're all starting to use it and moving away from the dollar.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot of countries are experimenting with different digital currencies. Like you said, things like XRP or even CBDCs like in Sweden. And yeah, if more nations start integrating these tools, whether for payments or IDs, it could really reshape how global finance functions. So yeah, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on.
That's a great point. A lot of countries are definitely experimenting with different digital currencies, things like XRP or CBDCs, similar to what Sweden's looking at. And yeah, if more nations start integrating these tools, whether for payments or IDs, it could really reshape how global finance functions. It's definitely a significant trend to keep an eye on. Is there a particular digital currency you've been following most closely?
Yeah, I've been paying a lot of attention to XRP, especially because of the legal developments in the US and its potential role in cross-border payments. It feels like a really interesting test case for how these digital assets might integrate into the global financial system.
I think that XRP is a great topic because I think a lot of countries are getting into it, are using it already, and we're just getting to the Clarity Act. I think once we get past the Clarity Act, I think XRP will become really, really big.
Yeah, exactly. Once that regulatory clarity kicks in, it'll probably be a huge catalyst. I mean, if institutional investors and big financial institutions feel like it's a safer bet, then yeah, I think it could really scale up. So it's definitely one to watch closely.
I I agree that regulatory clarity could be a major boost. If big investors and institutions start feeling it's a safer bet, it could drive much wider adoption and scaling up. It's definitely one to keep watching closely on the legal front. Is there another aspect of cryptocurrency you're interested in, or mostly the payment network angle?
Yeah, I think I'm mostly focused on the payment network angle right now, just because it feels like it could reshape cross-border transactions. But I'm also curious about how crypto might tie into things like decentralized finance, especially for people who are traditionally excluded from banking. So it's kind of both sides, I guess.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people like the idea of crypto is because no one wants to be sanctioned by America, say, hey, you can't access your money. With crypto, I'm not saying they won't be able to do that, but I think there'll be less of a chance of America saying, we're going to sanction your money, Russia, if they're using crypto. It's not going to be the same leveraging field that Americans are used to.
Yeah,
both of those angles are fascinating. The potential to disrupt cross-border payments could really change global trade and finance, and decentralized finance could provide more economic tools to people who've been left out of traditional banking. You're also right that many countries are drawn to crypto partially because it offers a way to conduct transactions outside the US-dominated financial system, potentially reducing the impact of American sanctions. That's a significant factor in current geopolitics. Are there specific countries you see leading this shift?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, places like Brazil and Mexico are really pushing ahead, especially with regulatory frameworks. And I've also seen Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines looking at crypto for remittances. So yeah, those are some of the places really leading the shift.
You've listed some key examples. Brazil and Mexico working on regulations, and the Philippines with remittances. It shows that different regions are approaching it for different reasons, but there's definitely a growing momentum behind digital assets. It'll be interesting to see how their experiences influence the rest of the world. Is there a particular regulatory approach you find most interesting?
Yeah, actually, I find Brazil's approach really interesting because they're focusing on a clear legal framework that still allows innovation. They're trying to balance consumer protections with fostering a fintech ecosystem. So I think if that model works, it could really set a precedent for other countries.
That approach of balancing regulation with fostering innovation could definitely be a model for others. If they manage to protect consumers while creating a thriving fintech sector, it could really show how both can coexist positively. It's definitely worth watching to see how that framework develops. Are there specific aspects of the Brazilian model you'd like to explore further?
What about like everything being tokenized and, let's say you own a house, but it's tokenized and some people can invest in your house. Not that I would see why you would want to do that, but you could probably invest in someone's house that they're living in, but you know that their house is going to go up, so you invest in it. What about tokenization?
Yeah, that's a really fascinating idea. Tokenization could make assets like real estate much more liquid, basically letting people buy shares in a property. It could open up a lot of investment opportunities, especially for smaller investors. But of course, it would raise big questions about regulation, transparency, and how it's all built. So yeah, it's super intriguing.
That's a great way to put it. Tokenization could really change how we think about ownership, especially for less liquid assets like real estate. By letting people buy fractional shares, it lowers the barrier for entry and creates investment opportunities for more people. Of course, like you mentioned, it opens up significant discussions about regulation, transparency, and how everything is securely built. Are you focusing on the specific financial benefits, or are you curious about the legal and technical challenges?
Yeah, I think I'm mostly focused on the legal and technical challenges right now, just because if that structure isn't rock solid, like if there's a lack of clarity on ownership rights or how disputes get resolved, it could really undermine the whole system. So that side of it feels like the linchpin for me.
I think you're right. That legal and technical foundation is critical. If there isn't a clear legal framework or secure platform, people won't trust it, especially when you're talking about things like property ownership. Resolving disputes effectively and ensuring ownership rights are secure and well-defined really is the linchpin for the whole system to work. Is there a specific technical aspect you see as the biggest challenge?
I am going to end it there because we started with World War III kinda, and then we drifted into crypto, and on top of that, the camera video recording had stopped, but I started up right after, so this is 2 parts, which is cool, but I don't know how I'm going to divide it up. But anyway, thank you for coming to the AI Roundtable. That was ChatGPT and Gemini, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.